research that's equally valuable.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Franny Knight,
I'm Damon Patterson,
and we are here with the
KC Dev Report.
Right, and we are on episode
number 6.
Sweet. I am so excited. We are just getting so much better at this, aren't we?
We are. It's growing and evolving.
Yeah, and so Damon and I started this project a couple months ago, and we just decided that we both had a shared interest in just always like seeing development going on in Kansas City and like what's going on, and we just like, hey, let's do a show on it.
So we here we are. We kind of brainstormed on what exactly it would be about and what we would call it, and we just kind of started it. And like you said, we're not developers. We're just Kansas Cityans that are interested in Kansas City and what's happening in Kansas City, particularly development, which I'm sure all of you are seeing that Kansas City has a ton of development going on. There are streets blocked off, buildings are appearing, buildings are disappearing, trains are in the sky, and the city is evolving. So the show is really just a way for us to investigate and understand development in general, and then to know what's going on in the city. So we had that interest, and we decided to create this show and share it.
Yeah. And I am, some of you know, I am Urban Coal KC team, and we are the sponsors of this show. Just means we are very interested as a group on the Urban Coal KC team to just check out what development is happening that helps with residential real estate as well. So that's a little bit of an angle for me too, is like I love to be able to help my clients understand, you know, what parts of the city is, good places to locate and, bring your family into Kansas City's just a lot of neighborhoods and it's hard to figure out. So that to me is a big part of why I'm interested in development. And as Damon said, I'm not a developer. I don't have a degree in it. So we're just kind of winging it, and we love it. And we hope that everybody who joins us also has kind of the same love for watching Kansas City grow and develop. And but tonight, the topic is?
Tonight's episode is about the Kansas City Museum. So we'll touch on the history of the Kansas City Museum and what's happening with the Kansas City Museum now.
And tonight is kind of special because it's our first night that we're giving away a prize, a giveaway. We're giving away tickets. So the Kansas City Museum is reopening on September 4th, and they're going to have a derby party there. So you got to kind of dress up in the Kentucky Derby style dress. If you've ever been to a derby party at the Kansas City Museum, it's quite amazing. So if we have in the event here the link to go sign up for, you're signing up for our weekly email to announce what show we're doing that week. That's it. We're not going to be doing, we're not spamming or anything. We just want to let you all know what we're doing every week. So if you sign up for that, give us your email address and make a comment in this event page that you're here. If you do those two things, then we'll put you in the drawing to win the tickets. Those are worth $75 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good price. So You might share this with other people who want to come and check out the show tonight. You want to give them like where they can find us after the show?
Yeah, so if you are seeing this after it's live, then you can go to the page, which you're probably on if you're watching this, which is everything across all social media is just the KCDEV report. So you can always catch us on any of those sites, your regular sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that. And we also have a website, the KCDEV report.com. So you can watch it, and now you can even listen to the podcast audio on any of the usual sites that you listen to podcasts on.
Awesome. It's great. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the museum. Let's start with where's it located? Where is the Kansas City Museum?
The Kansas City Museum is in the Northeast area, which the exact address is 3218 Gladstone Boulevard. That's Kansas City, Missouri, 64123.
Okay, and those who live in the Northeast, the historic Northeast, know all about the Kansas City Museum. It's on the beautiful Gladstone Boulevard on the east-west part of Gladstone Boulevard because it goes north-south and then east-west, so you can't miss it. And there's a bunch of, I think there are 6 Queen Anne Victorians, and also the Tiffany Castle. So it's just a great, if you haven't been over there, listen, if you live in Johnson County or you're new to Kansas City, you got to go drive that drive. It's just beautiful. And to see the museum is just lovely, totally lovely. And the thing I love about it is in the Beaux-Arts style of architecture, which is a French style that we don't have many of that style architect in Kansas City. So it's kind of cool to see that. The Nelson Museum is also in that style. And so we're doing these historic home style courses and stuff. So we're learning all about that. So I'm excited that it's in a very rare and unique style of Kansas City. So who owns the museum?
The museum is owned by the city of Kansas City, Missouri. And it wasn't always, but it is currently owned by Kansas City, and it's
So
governed.
us, we own it.
Yeah, we own it. Yeah, basically,
You know.
the taxpayers own it. And it's governed, managed, and operated by the Kansas City Museum Foundation, which is a 501c3 organization.
Got it. So let's talk. When was it built? How old is it?
It was built in 1911.
Yeah. So who built it?
Interesting. So we'll talk about the owner a little bit. It was designed by a local architect, Henry F. Hoyt. So it was originally a 4-story, 35,000 square feet mansion.
What? Wait a minute. Did you say 35,000
square feet?
And this was just for a family?
Yeah, it was for the Long family.
Wow. Okay. So they must have done something pretty big to be able to do that.
The original owner is Robert Alexander Long. He was also the owner of a very successful company, which was the Log Bell Lumber Company, and that was incorporated in 1884. So Long was an early American kind of a big tycoon kind of guy. He was a lumber baron and developer, investor, newspaper owner, and philanthropist.
Wow.
Yeah, he had hundreds of thousands of acres of land across the United States.
Oh, wow.
So he became wealthy by selling wood.
And not firewood.
Not firewood. I mean, I'm sure he did, but...
I'll just throw in here, too, that we're starting up our Historic Homes course again on September 7th, which is right after the grand opening on September 4th. But we talk about there were really no architects, trained architects in Kansas City until the 1880s. And so from the 1880s until the 1920s, there was just a big, like, boom of architects coming from all over the country. And so before that, if Mr. Long wanted to build such a beautiful property, there really were no architects here. So I think it all kind of came together when he came and having that ability to hire Mr. Hoyt to build that museum. So just a little bit of history about before 1880. If you look at any houses before 1880, they're we either call them folk houses or they're not really they're designed, they're built and designed by builders, not by architects. So yeah. So so how much did it cost to build?
During that time in the 1900s, it cost $1 million, which in today's money is $32 million.
Are you serious? I'm just surprised you know that.
Research.
Like translating $1911 to $2021. That's pretty good, Damon. $1 million. Was there any other $1 million homes built yet?
That's a fun fact. So the Long family's mansion, which is what is the Kansas City Museum or Corinthian Hall, was Kansas City's first mansion, first $1 million mansion.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still standing, which is cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Okay, so so he built it in 1911. They did whatever they did in the house for years and years, and then what happened to it? What was the next?
Well, they lived there, and it was their residence, and up until Mr. Long passed, and then the daughters had it, and they donated it, the entire estate, to the Kansas City Museum Association in 1939. And in 1940, it was opened to the public as a history and science museum. And then it was deeded to the city of Kansas City, Missouri in 1948.
Wow. You know, that's interesting because, so 1911 to 1939, so that's only that's not less than 30 years that they had it as their private residence. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
Not that long, really, if you think about it.
Not long at all.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. It makes me think they were very philanthropist and wanted to do something good for the city by doing that. I would guess. But it was the daughters, not Mr. Long himself.
Donated the entire estate.
So, so it became a museum. And what did this museum? What kind of museum? You said natural history, but what did it have in it?
So it was natural history, which is funny. I remember going there on a field trip in, I think it was elementary school, and so they showed things like taxidermy specimens and fossils, rocks, minerals. They even had stuffed animals, and they had what's called dioramas, which are like small scale kind of three-dimensional scenes. So they had those, and a lot of it was artifacts all about the region and things that you could find in Kansas City, kind of geographical based stuff. And then so they had presentations and classes, and at one point they even had a 50C planetarium, which got moved or torn down.
So when did it stop? Like when was the next kind of thing that happened when it changed from being a museum?
Well, it went on, and I think that was all 50s, 60s, 70s, and there's a few points in between, like 80s and 90s, where it would close and they would renovate and reopen, it would close, and it kind of change who was managing and all that. And then we go into the 2000s. So like from 2005 to 2013, it's a funny little fact. The museum was managed by Union Station Kansas City Incorporated, which is the same organization that maintains Kansas City's Union Station, which is where Science City is, which I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I do. I always remember when when the Union Station was being saved, and everybody's everybody in the city was hoping to save the Union Station, and I remember as they were talking about it being a science city and all that, that there was some connection to Kansas City Museum.
Yeah.
I did not know it had all this.
Yeah, I never connected it until we were doing research for it, and I was like, wait a minute. And then the Union Station Kansas City Incorporated, the fact that they were managing it, and then I was like, is that? Because it felt like maybe because they had the science kind of stuff there, and then the planetarium, which Science City also has. I was like, did they just kind of take that part of it and just start Science City? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I'm sure there are other people out there who know more than us on that,
Right.
exactly how that came about. So, when did it start the process of getting renovated to where it's ready to open now? What was that next step?
So in 2008, the primary buildings of the museum, which was the residence and the carriage house, closed for renovations. And then we don't hear much going on about it for a couple of years. It kind of dies down. And then in 2014, the city of Kansas City, Missouri Parks and Recreation, they started to operate and manage it as a museum again. And then we fast forward, and there were some events that they had, like certain exhibitions, little small events, and concerts that I seen happening, and photo shoots and little tours and different little things that were happening. And then there started being conversations of renovation, and then they closed down again.
Okay.
Which brings us to today. So currently, the museum has been renovated and is complete.
That's awesome. And I know, because I know people who I've talked to in the Northeast, especially who all the fundraising that's been going on to get that done. So it was quite expensive to get it done. So how much has that cost?
So researching, the number is 22 million. So it costs 22 million to renovate, but it's also Corinthian Hall. So they updated everything from, because it still had a very 1900s look to everything. So supposedly they updated everything to make it look and feel more like a modern museum. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
22 million.
22 million. So I know some fundraising happened, because like I said, I know some people who did the fundraising. You all know, I know who you are. But what else? I mean, that was a part of that 22 million, but there was some other.
There was 8 million that came from general obligation bonds, or GO bonds, and 8 million came from the museum mill levy, and then another about 6 million came from private donations.
Yeah.
Which is where you get the whole 22.
Yeah. So last week, now, anytime we refer back to a show before, you can go look at those, listen or look at those shows. We had the School of Debt last week, and we were talking about bonds and all kinds of tax instruments. So these are, we don't, Dave and I, you got to listen, but we don't know that we totally agreed with all the tax instruments that would be used for blight and so forth. But this seems to be a good use of bonds and this mill levy to have such this is, to me, this is going to serve a lot of people for a very long time. So I think it's great. I think our money going
Museums
into
are
that.
great.
Yeah.
History is always great, and
It's hard to be mad at
Yeah.
development that's about a
History.
museum, right?
Yeah. And, a building that was built in the early 1900s, I think is cool. And it's kind of frustrating that a lot of the history, particularly that I see or have seen in Kansas City, is we tear down old buildings.
Mm-hmm.
We tear them down, and it's kind of cool that we have some historical buildings left. I wish we were more like Paris and France, where
Mm-hmm.
I mean they have blocks and blocks and blocks full of buildings that were from the 1800s and 1700s and 1600s. And you probably won't find a building here that was built in the 1600s or 1700s.
I don't think so. I know that like over in Quality Hill, where some of the first big Victorians were being built, you just only have a couple left over there. So it's also in the houses. It's not just the commercial and the museums and stuff. We lose them, and I hope that what we still have left we can preserve. I think there are a lot of people who want to do that. So like who's the architect? Who did the construction? I mean, it seems like that'd be important for people to know.
So in the research, I got IAA, which is International Architects Atelier. They did the master planning as far as deciding on what they would do and coming up with the plan. And a retired city architect for the city of Kansas City, Eric Botch, was also a part of that team. And J.E. Dunn Construction was who was in charge of the actual construction for the renovation.
Okay. Yeah, they do a lot.
Yeah, J.E. Dunn's kind of like the premier construction company in Kansas City. Yeah, you're not going to go too far without seeing J.E. Dunn.
So what actually got? I mean, you said they've kind of modernized it, and like, what are some of the things that were actually done to this museum that they renovated?
So, and you can see some of this stuff if you go to the Kansas City Museum website, which is just kansascitymuseum.org. And they broke it down into 3 different phases. So they did the lower level, the first floor, which is Corinthian Hall, the second floor, Corinthian Hall, and the third floor of Corinthian Hall. And you have restored billiard room, a new interpretation of the museum's former soda fountain. If you've been there, you remember there was a soda fountain downstairs.
That's pretty cool.
Are
they actually going to serve soda, or it's just
I'm not sure.
a display?
I'm not sure. I
That'd
think
be pretty cool.
It worked for many years when I went there. So it was kind of a cool little part of the museum.
Uh-huh.
At least when you're a kid, it's definitely cool. So they redid all the different displays, and I'm sure that's part of where they meant as far as modernizing the displays, the kitchen, the cater kitchen, the restrooms, spaces for administrative function. That's all on the lower level. And then they have quite a few education programs, events, exhibits, contemporary thematic art installations, and I don't know if this was there before, this is new. The first floor will have a retail store as well as a cafe with a service kitchen and a demonstration kitchen. That's on the first floor of Corinthian Hall. And then we have the second floor, which will include 5 exhibition galleries that will showcase historical materials from the museum's permanent collections, items on loan, a meeting room, educational classroom, space for school programs and community meetings, and contemporary thematic art installations. That's the second floor of the Corinthian Hall. And then the third floor will include 3 exhibition galleries that will showcase historical materials from the museum's permanent collections, items on loan, and 42, now this is new, a 42-seat auditorium and theater to showcase films and videos, a storage sharing space, I do, and a contemporary thematic art installations. So that's kind of cool. They added quite a few things.
Yeah, they did.
That wasn't there before.
Yeah. I always think, anytime we develop, as a community, as a city, that we develop something that is a third space, a place where we all can get together and share in art and culture and history is just, it's really very cool. I mean, it sounds like it's just going to have a lot of options for people to not only come and just look at the museum, but also have meetings there and participate, which is this is amazing. And I know they'll continue the Northeast Historic Society. They've been having the concerts on the lawn, and it's I think it's going to be pretty cool. You know what I also think about it as all this stuff. You know, the Union Station does this too. Like they're doing a lot there as well, right? Yeah. But it's a little bigger, which is great because it's grand and all that. I mean, it's still pretty big, but it seems like it might have more of an intimate feeling, more of it's Kansas City's house, you know, like versus a big museum is the feeling I have of what they're doing
Definitely.
with these different things. So the exciting part is they're going to have a grand opening September 4th, along with the Derby party. Now you're all probably like, yes, the Kentucky Derby party. Is there the Kentucky Derby going on? No, but they usually the Northeast Historical Society. And this is one of the things that the museum has always had is the Derby party, and it usually is during the Kentucky Derby. But this year, because they wanted to, because of the pandemic, that was one thing they couldn't have the party during the Kentucky Derby, and so they postponed it to the grand opening to kind of do it all at the same time, which I think is great. It's going to be, I mean, that's going to be a pretty darn cool. Like it's going to be open all day on September 4th, which is a Saturday. The Derby party is from 3 to 7. And I know some of you have been to the Derby party. It is amazing. It's like everybody really dresses to the hilt. So if you don't have much time if you're going to do this to get your costume together, but you gotta
the Derby party.
I posted a picture on our page of some of the women who've well, I thought I did. I don't know where it just disappeared to. Well, I'll post it. But you'll have to get dressed up if you're going to be there for the Derby party from 3 to 7. And again, we're giving away tickets. So after this is done, and if you're watching this later, we're going to wait, and we'll probably wait for about a week to give everybody a chance. So just get us your email, make a comment in our event page here, and we'll still put you in the drawing to win a ticket to go to the Derby party. So, and that's from 3 to 7. And then, but I think, I'm pretty certain that it's going to be open all day. It's the 3 to 7 is just some of the Derby party and some of the VIP stuff that's going on. So, you're always so great at coming up with some fun facts, in addition to the history and the architect and all that. So what are some other things that is fun about this development project?
I did find a few fun facts on it. So in 1907, Robert A. Long, who was the owner of the Kansas City Museum of Corinthian Hall, also built the first skyscraper in Kansas City, named the R.A. Long Building for the company corporate headquarters. So it was 16 stories tall, and it costed, I reported, $14 million. The building was bought in 1940 by City National Bank and Trust, and that building is $928,000, which is still there. That's one fun fact.
That's very cool. Until St. Louis, right? Something came in St. Louis, yeah.
And then Henry, I got a couple more. Henry F. Hoyt, who's the architect who designed what is now the Kansas City Museum, also designed the Kansas City Power and Light Building at 1330 Baltimore, and that was completed in 1930. So I think he really liked Henry F. Hoyt. We see him on a lot of projects.
Yeah, that's an amazing building. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
So that building would be Missouri's tallest habitable structure from 1931 until the One U.S. Bank Plaza in St. Louis in 1976. So
It says that, New York has their, competition who has the tallest building, and so we have it in Missouri. We had it in Missouri too.
Right.
Obviously, we were number one for a while.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. Okay, what else?
Oh, one more. So that same architect, Henry F. Hoyt, who was an architect with Hoyt, Price and Barnes, also designed the Longview Farm in Lee Summit, Missouri, for Robert Long in 1913. So that was his mansion or house there in Northeast, and then he has the Longview Farm in Lee Summit. That's like his country house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, this has been fun. We wanted to mix up what we talk about every week with some really positive things, with some questionable things, and just digging into finding out everything going on in Kansas City, and this was really fun to learn about the Kansas City Museum. And I know a lot of people out there who have been fundraising and really working hard to get this going are just just hats off to you for everything you guys have done to pull this together. And it truly has been a real collective effort to city, private, public, and it's amazing what we can do when we really have a love for it. And so it makes me proud that Kansas City is doing something like this, and they continue. I mean, they did the Union Station, who are doing this, and not just building new, but renovating older buildings, because I think Kansas City needs that, and needs to keep some of its heritage intact, to keep a really good feeling for it. So we haven't decided what we're talking about next week, have we?
We haven't.
So we've got a few things in mind, and we'll let you know if you go to the link just to give us your email to sign up for to get into the drawing for the Derby Party tickets. We will send out an email to let you know what the next topic will be, and it's Thursday at 6. There might be a chance we change it, but for the most part, we're sticking with Thursdays at 6 right now. But if you get on our list, we'll let you know. And I think we're a couple of topics we've been thinking about. I think it's going to be kind of interesting. So I look forward to making that decision together. So,
and also, if anyone has topics that you think would be interesting, you can always email us, or just write us on the Facebook page, or go to the website and email us there, which is the kcdevreport.com. And you can also see all the past episodes, whether you want to watch the video or just listen to them as a podcast. And we also have show notes. So
yes, so everything we just we're talking from our notes, we're going to have ready for you. Just go to the kcdevreport.com, and the show notes it'll take a couple days. Just be a little patient. We'll get the podcast up and the show notes and the video, and you'll love it. And then you can pass it on to your friends too.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, everybody. I'm Freddie Knight.
I'm Damon Patterson.
And this is
the KC
Dev Report.
Such a that's equally valuable.